So, California just passed Senate Bill 40, the LGBT history bill, which requires teachers to include LGBT history in the curriculum. This is almost the exact opposite of what's going on in Nashville, Tennessee, where they're actually trying to ban the mention of gay people at all in school. So, I thought since what happened in California is going to take a lot longer to happen in other states, it might be good for us to collect all of the really strange arguments against teaching gay history and, promote some critical thinking skills here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a whole bunch of clips of the arguments against teaching gay history. And I'm not going to force feed you your critical thinking skills here. I'm just going to prompt you with one phrase for each of these clips to look for so that you can come to your own conclusions about why each of these clips is batshit crazy. Now, the first of these clips actually happened before Governor Schwarzenegger vetoed the gay history bill that was put before him. And this was in 2006 from the O'Reilly Factor. And your critical thinking skills prompt phrase here is Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, this is much more radical than ensuring that homosexuals and other people of minority sexual orientation status are respected in the schools. It's already against the law in California to discriminate against anyone based on their sexual orientation. I looked at this bill over very closely, and it is a very radical, very extreme, dangerous bill. It says that no teacher can even say anything that would, quote unquote, reflect adversely on anyone, historical figure, whatever, based on their sexual orientation. And so now there are real concerns that this could be interpreted broadly in the liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and other liberal courts as saying that you can't even have sports teams, for example, that discriminate based on gender. And this is pure political propaganda.
And also, if you were a teacher, you're not going to be able to say bad things about Jeffrey Dahmer?
No.
I mean, he's a cannibal, a gay cannibal, and you can't say, well, that's wrong. I mean, if what you're saying is true, teachers would not be able to cast aspersions on even villains if they were homosexuals.
Yeah, that's right. And in any case, I think school teachers in California and everywhere else ought to be paying more attention to whether or not third graders can find, Sacramento or Washington, D.C. on a map than what the sexual orientation is of historical figures in America. It's actually kind of hypocritical because I thought that the gay rights lobbyists were all for privacy and keeping things in the bedroom, and here they are on this crusade to out people in some sort of weird, twisted way to boost the self-esteem of gay students. I don't get it.
All right, Kirsten, maybe you do.
Well, I understand the impulse behind it, and what Michelle was just talking about not being able to say anything negative about someone who is gay is completely ridiculous, and it goes against, I think, every value we have in terms of free speech.
Isn't it a form of fascism? And I don't use that word lightly. For California or anybody else, any other state, to be mandating that a certain lesson pattern be embraced by teachers, in the sense that you have to say good things about this group. That's not intellectual freedom, is it?
Well, it's not intellectual freedom, but it's not only liberals or California.
But isn't it a form of fascism? I mean, government's not in the business of telling teachers to say good things about a group, is it?
Jeffrey Dahmer. Really? If I were to make the argument against teaching Christian values in school, I think I could come up with a better tactic than using, as an example of Christian values, Jim Jones, Jim Baker, David Koresh, Ted Haggard, or Caligula. But I guess we should give him points because he didn't say Hitler was gay. So, in this next clip, look for the word blackmail.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kilmeade. A battle over adding gay rights to history books is brewing in California. A state senator there proposing a law that would mandate the teaching of it. Take a look at this. Most textbooks don't include any historical information about the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender movement, which has great significance to both California and U.S. history. Our collective silence on this issue perpetuates negative stereotypes of those people and leads to increased bullying of young people. But should it start in grade school? Fox News contributor Tucker Carlson joins us live from Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Tucker.
Good morning, Steve.
They've tried this out in California before, and it has failed. Why now?
Look, you don't need to be anti-gay to be against this, and you can acknowledge that there is bullying in school, including of gay kids. There are two problems with this. One, it's propaganda, and two, it's blackmail. The point of history is to teach what happened, not what you wanted to happen, not what you hope will happen, but what actually happened. In this case, a lawmaker is saying, portray an interest group in a positive light, or kids will be hurt, hence the blackmail. They're basically saying, if you don't do this, kids could die, and that's an outrageous thing to say.
Yeah, the people behind this say that in the history books, there's nothing about the historical significance of gay people. So if somebody was gay, they want that out there.
Right. What they're saying is, the point of history is to raise the self-esteem of students. It's to find yourself in the history book and see the group to which you belong portrayed in a positive light. And again, of course, that's not the point of history. The point of history is to teach you what happened.
Facts.
It's the story. That's exactly right. It's not to make people feel good about themselves. It's not to achieve social aims. It's to tell the truth about what went before. And that's being subverted by a lawmaker, and it's dangerous.
But now, I could see, Tucker, if a person's gayness had historical significance, where that should be in there. But just
of course.
But to do it this way, it seems unusual, and then to add the whole thing that if we don't start doing this, kids are going to get beat up down the, eventually. Does that seem like a stretch to you?
Well, I mean, not only is it, first of all, it's unproven. There isn't social science that demonstrates that teaching children about the glories of the gay rights movement will reduce bullying. That just doesn't, we don't know that. But more to the point, again, that's not the purpose of school. The purpose of, it may be the purpose of church, it may be something that parents should do, it may be something that civic leaders want to take on, but the purpose of school is to educate children. And this not only differs from that aim, it gets in the way of it.
Ultimately, it just looks like somebody's trying to put a pro-gay agenda into
it's interest group politics, right.
There you go. All right. Tucker Carlson joined us from Washington. Tucker, thank you very much. Have a great weekend and a Merry Christmas.
You too.
All right.
Blackmail. They want to call it blackmail for speaking out against the adverse effects of not including tolerance education in the curriculum. They want to call it blackmail to say that gay kids are going to be bullied, beaten, and possibly killed if we don't teach all children to respect the LGBT community as part of the community. Following this line of reasoning, we could possibly say that public schools are unfairly being pressured into including fire drills in the curriculum. Because when the fire drills were pushed for, we did say that if kids didn't know what to do during a fire, then they might die. And that's unfair to bring that up. Even though any bit of education that we push for to be added to a curriculum, we always talk about the adverse effects of not having that education in the curriculum. But now it's blackmail. Anyways, in this next clip, it's very short. Just listen for the word should.
Ryan, all right, 20 minutes now past the hour. Should public school teachers be ordered to tell their students why it's okay to be gay? Next, the liberal state that's making the first move. Good luck.
Should public school teachers be ordered to tell their students it's okay to be gay? You know, after thinking about this, I don't think they should be ordered to tell their students it's okay to be gay. I think they should do it because it's the right thing to do. So, in this next video, listen for the word homeschool. It's going to come off across like when you don't like someone and you say, bitch, bitch, bitch. So, be ready for it. The word is homeschool.
Wrong? I mean, come on. There's one other thing. This bill would prohibit the adoption of any materials that reflect adversely on gays or particular religions. So
yes.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, and that particular religions, that does not mean evangelical Christianity, as you can well imagine. Clearly, this is an effort to keep information that might be critical of Islam from reaching students.
Right, so
and again, that's propaganda.
So Tucker, is it another example of parents will have to opt out of this program if they don't like it, instead of having people opt in for something that maybe only a few want to participate in?
Look, no, my understanding is this should be mandatory. And the truth is, this is very likely to pass. And most parents are really busy. I mean, how many parents really, despite the best intentions, have the time to go through piece by piece their kids' curricula? Not so many.
All right, Tucker Carlson joining from D.C., from the Daily Caller as well. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Isn't America wonderful? If you don't agree with your child being taught to be less likely to attack minorities, then you can just homeschool them and teach them all the hate that you want. In this next clip, look out for the word albino.
Change in school curriculum that's raising some eyebrows. California's governor may soon approve a bill that would make it mandatory to teach gay history and contributions gay Americans have made. But does this kind of political correctness have a place in our public schools? Dr. Larry Schweikert is a professor of history at the University of Dayton and the author of A Patriot's History Reader. Okay, so first of all, tell us exactly where this stands in California law right now.
It's awaiting signature from the governor, and you know, California is one of the leading textbook providers in the country. Not as big as it was. Texas now, I think, is in first place. But this could be very significant if it goes through, because it's going to affect textbooks everywhere.
And tell us exactly how it's going to affect them. Tell us what the bill proposes.
Well, you have to give treatment of significant accomplishments of gays and lesbians, you know, in various historical settings. This is a continuation of the kind of political correctness that we talked about a couple of years ago on Fox and Friends when we did our Trouble with Textbook segment. And basically what it is going to require is that you have certain number of lines, literally, a certain number of words dedicated to gays and lesbians at all points in history, as you now do in the textbooks with blacks, with Hispanics. You know, I'm sure the National Association of Albinos and the Association for Polygamists is waiting out there to get in line to have their say and to start making sure that they get acknowledged too.
Professor, tell me how young these children are going to be who are going to be exposed to these textbooks.
Well, the textbooks go all the way into elementary school. Now, I'm not sure when the California curriculum goes into social studies in terms of gay and lesbian, but usually it's somewhere around 4th, 5th grade that you start getting this sort of stuff.
All right. You know, it is a little different, though. I mean, I understand the African Americans. I think it even goes as far as South Pacific people, right, have to be represented. But this is different, right? This is a sexual orientation. Shouldn't that be left to parents?
Exactly. I mean, not only does it offend religious values of a number of Americans, But it's irrelevant. You know, what we in history have to be concerned with is significance. Why is something significant? How does it affect the largest number of people over time? And who Ulysses Grant slept with on, you know, the night before a major battle is irrelevant unless it caused him to win or lose the battle.
All right, we're going to say thank you to Professor Schwenker. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
So now the civil rights cause of gay people is just like that of the albino. When you watch these guys, do you get the feeling that they might be likely to try to start an organization within their church, you know, so that they could lure albinos into their church with nice words and then all join hands and try to pray their melanin deficiency away? But you know, wait, at least there's a little bit of progress here, because at least they're comparing gay people to another group of people who were born that way. So, yay for progress. In this next clip, look out for the words George Washington.
Oh, wait, you're on the edge of your seat.
Cannot wait.
But California now becomes the first state in the nation to require schools to teach about homosexuals and their achievements. Now, my point is, I think, listen, put homosexuals in school books, but why does it matter if they're homosexuals? Why can't we just talk about their achievements? We didn't talk about George Washington's sexuality, did we?
Yes, we did a lot.
He was a wildcat.
But
not in Texas.
you know, the fact is that gays have been oppressed for years and years in this country, and there's no reason why they can't have a history lesson on the Stonewall demonstrations downtown here.
That's not what this is.
You know, it's a funny thing here. Every time I start to say something, I hear something.
You're saying there's
changing the topic. I'm saying right on the topic.
Gay and lesbian. That's not what this is. This is California rewriting the textbooks, the history books, saying, by the way, George Washington was a homosexual, or, you know, so-and-so was a lesbian. That's what they want to do.
We could be talking about Mickey Mouse in the show, and you'd go to Jobs. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there has been a long history of oppression against gays, and they have contributed enormously to the history of this country. What's wrong with teaching it?
And they're starting even younger now. They're starting even younger to control your kids, brainwash them. In Colorado, there's proposed regulations for daycare centers. Right. Get a load of this, right? Let's see the full screen. We can have the list of new regulations for daycare centers that would require kids to, let's see, doll collections must represent at least 3 races, okay? Children cannot drink whole milk unless they have a note from their doctor. And pictures need to depict nature real.
Okay, listen. No one is trying to rewrite history to make people gay. Also, no one is trying to brainwash children into being gay. And let this be a warning to any other state or nation that wants to pass legislation to promote gay studies. You better be ready for the stupid when it attacks.